Most people dream of becoming wealthy. They imagine yachts, skyscraper offices, and private jets. But Warren Buffett never dreamed that way. He dreamed smaller, quieter. He dreamed of discipline, not drama. And that's exactly why he became one of the richest men alive. When Buffett was a child in Omaha, Nebraska, he didn't fantasize about being famous. He was obsessed with numbers, patterns, and pennies. While other kids collected toys, he collected bottle caps and newspaper delivery routes. He studied every coin he earned. That simple habit, the conscious attention to money, became one of the first building blocks of his fortune. He learned early what most people forget. Wealth isn't built by single giant wins, it's built by predictable small habits repeated long enough to become instinct. Most people chase excitement. Buffett chased consistency. Imagine a young Warren riding his bike before sunrise, delivering newspapers in the cold Nebraska air. Each week he counted his earnings, logged them by hand, reinvested tiny amounts into small ideas, pinball machines, old stocks, even small paper routes he hired others to run. Those quiet acts formed the rhythm of his life, the rhythm of compounding. Compounding wasn't just a math formula to him. It was a lifestyle. He realized that everything compounds: money, knowledge, relationships, reputation. So he developed habits that allowed those areas to grow by themselves. When you understand compounding, you move slower but achieve more. It's the discipline of patience in a world addicted to urgency. Buffett once said he could improve anyone's financial life by simply teaching them to delay gratification. Every decision spins around this core truth. Most investors try to double their money this year. Buffett tries to not lose it, and to let time double it for him. He didn't earn wealth by taking wild risks. He earned it by avoiding the need for shortcuts. His magic wasn't ambition, it was restraint. That's one of the first money habits that separates him from nearly everyone else. He respects money enough to give it time. He never forces growth, he lets it breathe. As Buffett matured, so did his money habits. One of his favorites is painfully simple: never stop learning. He reads for hours every day. He believes the most valuable asset you'll ever build isn't in the bank, it's in your head. This reading habit isn't random inspiration, it's the research pipeline that powers his decisions. When he finally acts, it's because decades of reading have sharpened his judgment to an almost instinctive precision. Compare that to the average person scrolling social media or checking stock tickers every hour. Buffett doesn't measure results by minutes, he measures improvement by years. That's why his decisions age well. Knowledge compounds exactly like capital: slowly, invisibly, then suddenly. But don't mistake patience for passivity. Buffett is deliberate, not lazy. His mind is always observing patterns: how people behave under pressure, how markets respond to fear, how great businesses protect themselves from extinction. Each observation refines his ultimate habit: making unemotional decisions. Buffett trains himself to detach emotion from money. That might sound unnatural, but it's one of his most powerful advantages. He knows the stock market is a device that transfers wealth from the impatient to the patient, from the emotional to the rational. Every panic is just a sale. Every boom is just a test of humility. He doesn't try to predict markets, because prediction is ego disguised as intelligence. Instead, he positions himself so that no prediction is required. The habit here is clarity. He only buys from understanding, never from excitement. Before he spends $1, he can explain exactly how he'll earn it back, with interest. This rule of understanding guided him for life. If he can't draw the business model with a pencil, he walks away. That single habit, intellectual humility, has saved him billions. It's easy to act smart when everyone's rushing in, it's hard to admit you don't understand. Buffett mastered the second one. His partner, Charlie Munger, once said, "The big money is not in the buying or the selling, but in the waiting." Buffett designed his entire life to make waiting easy. He lives in the same house he bought in 1958. He eats modest breakfasts. He drives himself to work. These aren't quirks, they're systems that eliminate financial pressure. If you don't need expensive things, you can wait for the perfect opportunity instead of chasing the nearest one. That's another invisible habit behind his success: low lifestyle overhead. By keeping his personal costs small, he keeps his thinking big. The less you owe, the more patient you can afford to be. Debt shrinks time horizons, discipline expands them. Buffett's modest lifestyle is actually a strategic weapon. It shields him from the desperation that drives poor decisions. Notice how all his habits connect like threads. Reading builds understanding. Understanding creates patience. Patience allows long-term compounding. Compounding builds freedom. Freedom protects learning. It's a self-reinforcing cycle of prosperity. And yet, he warns repeatedly that the human mind naturally sabotages this cycle. We crave drama. We fear missing out. We overtrade. We compare ourselves to others. Buffett's defense against all that: simplicity. He structures his environment to avoid temptation. He works from Omaha, far from Wall Street's noise, because he knows environment shapes emotion. Out of sight, out of impulse. Whenever young investors ask how to start, he doesn't give them technical formulas. He gives them behavioral advice. Develop habits of doing small things consistently well, he says. Save before you spend. Invest before you impress. Read before you react. He repeats that you can't change your future until you change your routine. People underestimate how much tiny daily choices matter. Sipping coffee you can't afford, ignoring bills, chasing quick trades. Every impulse compounds just like good habits do, but in the opposite direction. Buffett simply aimed every small behavior toward long-term gain. As his empire grew, the same principles applied at scale. Each acquisition at Berkshire Hathaway followed the pattern of his early life: clarity, quality, patience. He buys businesses he could hold forever, managed by people he actually trusts, at prices that leave a margin for mistakes. He doesn't outsource discipline. And here's a psychological twist most miss. Buffett's money habits are not about external limitation, they're about internal freedom. People think restraint feels like missing out. In reality, restraint removes clutter, and that space becomes your advantage. When others are reacting to markets, Buffett has mental bandwidth to think, to read, to make one calm decision that outperforms 1,000 panicked ones. That calmness wasn't born with him. He built it slowly. He studied his own emotional patterns. He learned to recognize fear and greed not as events but as signals. Fear means opportunity, greed means danger. So every time markets collapse or frenzy builds, he silently recalls that pattern, and acts opposite to the crowd. It's counterintuitive because it hurts. Buying when everyone else sells feels lonely. Waiting when everyone else brags feels boring. But wealth is often hidden behind boredom, and Buffett made boredom profitable. He says investing is like growing a tree. You can't stare at it and expect it to sprout faster. You water it with knowledge, you shelter it with discipline, and you give it the only fertilizer money understands: time. Another essential habit: he never stops reflecting. Every annual letter he writes is not marketing, it's therapy. He dissects mistakes in public, turning losses into lessons. Most executives hide errors, Buffett documents them. This transparency trains honesty like a muscle. Admitting small mistakes prevents the blind spots that cause huge ones. People underestimate how that honesty multiplies trust. Investors, employees, managers, they all know Buffett says what he means. Because he's consistent, markets give him the one currency beyond money: reputation. Reputation compounds, too. When people trust you, good deals find you. Even his humor is strategic. He uses wit to diffuse tension, turning complexity into clarity. Finance is intimidating for most, but Buffett's tone invites learning. That emotional simplicity attracts ordinary people, and ordinary people built Berkshire. If you step back and trace every significant step in his journey, you'll see the same quiet principles repeating endlessly: save more than you spend, invest more than you consume, think for yourself, and stay calm when others panic. Simple ideas, executed relentlessly, become extraordinary. Buffett often says, there's no reason to be smarter than everyone else, you just have to be more disciplined than everyone else. Discipline gives average people an edge. It's not genetic brilliance, it's behavioral endurance. You can't control markets, but you can control habits. And habits, eventually, control everything. Consider his routine even today. He wakes up early, reads several newspapers, and spends the day thinking, truly thinking, not multitasking. He schedules boredom because emptiness invites clarity. It's in that silence that he finds good decisions. The world glorifies busyness, Buffett glorifies focus. He measures success not by how much he makes, but by how much freedom he preserves. He could retire decades ago, but his definition of wealth is doing what he loves with people he likes. That's another unseen habit. He curates relationships as carefully as investments. When you remove toxic people, your decisions improve automatically. He also practices gratitude, though he rarely uses that word on stage. Gratitude grounds him. It's hard to lose discipline when you remember how far patience has taken you. Every annual meeting he says how lucky he feels to work in what he calls the game of partnership. That mindset turns competition into cooperation, a rare trait in finance and an essential habit of abundance thinking. Now imagine applying these same patterns to your own life. Start with clarity, know exactly where your money goes. Then consistency, do small smart things each day. Then patience, give those acts time to grow. You don't need billions to behave like Buffett. You need structure, perspective, and humility. Those are free. His method teaches a universal truth that transcends money: behavior beats brilliance. The right habits quietly outperform any clever strategy. Every paycheck is a test. Every purchase, a vote for your future or your comfort. Buffett's wealth isn't the magic of the market, it's the ordinary magic of repetition. And that's perhaps his greatest lesson. There's nothing glamorous about saving or studying. It's slow. It's dull. But dull is dependable, and dependable becomes powerful. The same person who once sold newspapers now steers a trillion-dollar company with that same patience, one decision at a time. He will tell you it's easy, but not simple. Easy because the rules never change. Not simple because you must fight your own impatience every single day. But the reward for mastering that patience isn't just wealth, it's peace. While others chase speed, you'll chase direction. And direction lasts longer than momentum. So as you think about your own money habits, remember what really made Buffett a billionaire. It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It was quiet consistency. The choice to read instead of react. To save instead of show off. To wait instead of worry. Bit by bit, day by day, that set of habits turned into history's greatest compounding machine. You don't have to live in Omaha to follow those steps. You just have to start small and stay steady. Wealth, like character, grows silently until it's undeniable. If you found value in this story and want to keep building your own foundation of financial wisdom, subscribe to this channel. Every lesson we share moves you one habit closer to the kind of freedom money was meant to buy. Remember, real wealth begins the moment you stop chasing and start compounding.